Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And we are here to talk about this R. Kelly interview on the CBS Early Show. Child.
It seems like, some could say you might seem out of touch to a lot of people.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, your perception of the charges against you. I know it's your side and it's your story, but you have a different perception that most of the world has about you.
No,
You
I have a
think
truth.
that
People have perception.
people have the perception.
I have truth.
Do you think you're invincible?
Oh, absolutely not. I just think I'm human.
I don't know what to say. But before we get into this recap of what went down today, if you haven't heard already, R. Kelly had his hearing today for the child support. He owes Andrea $161,000 in back child support. And so after that interview aired, he was due in court. He went to court. He told the judge that he had $50,000 and he would be able to come up with the rest of the money in a week or so. But the judge said, no, sir. You were told to bring all the money or you were going to jail. And that is exactly what happened. He was escorted out of the courtroom, taken to a holding room where they were waiting on police to come and get him and take him to jail. So he is going to sit in jail until he can come up with the full $161,000. Now, he had some guy with him today who called himself his publicist or his spokesperson. I think they said the guy name was Daryl Jones. So basically, he spoke after the hearing. It was a closed hearing, so the only people that could come in were R. Kelly, his attorneys, and then Andrea and her attorneys. But Andrea didn't show up. Only her attorney was there to speak on her behalf. And I mentioned in a previous video that Miss Andrea has been mighty, mighty quiet lately. Like for the past 2 or 3 weeks, she's been moving in silence. So we don't know what's going on with Andrea. And so anyway, the spokesperson said that R. Kelly had the $50,000 that he wanted to give, and that putting him in jail and demanding the rest of the money really doesn't help the kids if it's really about the kids, because they could have had $50,000 today. Now they have nothing, and he's saying that R. Kelly should have the rest of the money by next Wednesday. So looks like R. Kelly is going to be sitting in jail for a week. And I think it may be a good thing that he has gotten locked up, especially after that interview with Gayle King, because I'm thinking R. Kelly needs some downtime. He needs some alone time. He needs some me time so he can reflect over his life and just really put things into perspective and figure out who is on his side and who is not on his side, because these shenanigans that's going on right now is really crazy. And it's crazy in light of the fact that over the past week or so there really hasn't been a lot of coverage about about him, about the case, about the alleged victims. Like, the news cycle had really been slowing down. And then he goes and he does this interview, which had me to thinking, I wonder if CBS paid him to do that interview. Because there were some other people that were saying that, because he had made a statement that CBS, in the interview, he thanks Gayle for having him on the show. And, she was the only one that reached out to him or something like that, he says. And so some other media people were coming out on Twitter saying, that's a lie. We've been trying to get in touch with you. You turned us down. And so people were saying, okay, well, maybe he didn't want to talk to y'all. Maybe he want to talk to a black person because he thought that, this black person would empathize with him or whatever. So maybe CBS paid him that $50,000 to go on down there and try and give to that judge for this interview. Or maybe they were going to pay the whole thing, but they told him, we'll give you $50,000 up front. We'll give you the rest of the money next week sometime. So maybe CBS need to go ahead and cut that check to R. Kelly so he can get out of jail. So I'm going to go ahead and give my commentary on the interviews, and then I'll put the interviews, the actual live footage at the end of my commentary. But one thing I want to point out about this interview, and so people are commenting and having their thoughts on what's going on, is that I want you guys to keep in mind that even if you're like watching the video online or you're actually watching the interviews as they're airing on CBS, keep in mind that Gayle King sat down with him for 80 minutes. That's an hour and 20 minutes. But we probably in total are only getting about 10 minutes of footage, and they're dragging it out. They're doing like, two-minute segments every at the end. I think it's like at the 55-minute mark of each hour, and they're on for like 3 hours. And so 7:55, 8:55, and 9:55, I believe they air a segment of the interview. So keep in mind the entire interview was 80 minutes, but we've got a very cut down, condensed version of this interview. Trust and believe there was some editing going on. There was some slicing, some dicing, some moving stuff around. And just to give you an idea, so they keep showing this picture when they're talking about his outburst. And if you look real close, like it looks like it's just R. Kelly standing there, like hovering over Gayle. Gayle sitting down looking unbothered. But if you look on to the right of the image on his arm, you will see a hand, like a hand holding him back. But if you look at the image, you don't see anybody standing behind R. Kelly. But then if you look at other footage from the side, then you'll see that there was actually a man that comes from behind R. Kelly, and it's like holding on to him, trying to get him to calm down. But for sensationalism, they're putting this picture out there like he's hovering over Gayle, and Gayle is just sitting there, like the mighty princess warrior. And like she has the power and the force to hold him back, when actuality, there was actually a man that was restraining him and like holding him so he didn't move forward. So I was surprised watching the episode that she also interviews Jocelyn and Azarel.
We also talked to Jocelyn and Azrael Clary about living with R. Kelly and their estranged relationship with their families. It made them very emotional too. Tell me, Azrael, why you're crying. Tell me.
I'm crying because you guys don't know the truth. You guys are believing the facade that our parents are insane. This is all lies for money. If you can't see that, you're ignorant and you're stupid.
And so I just want to see how we got to that point where she's crying and carrying on. And then what happened after that. And, Jocelyn is sitting there, trying to calm her, patting her on the back like she's the mama, and Azrael is the daughter, trying to console her. But Jocelyn looks very unbothered. And so I don't know. And then one more thing. Have you guys seen the little video clip that's floating around? It was posted like last week sometime, but it's from this talk show that used to come on called the Bill Cunningham Show. And there is a clip. I can't find the full episode, but there is a clip from that show of Geronda Pace. And it aired on, it was season 1, episode 151 of the Bill Cunningham show. And it was something about sister wants, I'll show you I got a little printout. I'll put that up there so you have the right information. And then I'm also going to drop that clip here and let you see for yourself what Miss Geronda was up to back in 2012.
I'm on the Bill Cunningham Show.
What are you doing?
I'm doing what I have to do.
A sister and her secret life.
If you don't stop today, I'm gonna take my little niece and I'm gonna wash my hands to you. That's it and that's all.
So you guys know that Wendy Williams is back. So she was telling her audience when she came out to do Hot Topics, she was like, while you guys were standing in line waiting to get in, child, R. Kelly was on the CBS Early Show, being interviewed by Gayle King, and she was like, "Child, it was riveting TV. So come on, let me tell you what went down." So if you guys remember last year, when Wendy was going through all her medical episodes and everything, she met with R. Kelly. She said that R. Kelly called her late one night, asked her to come meet. Don't bring no cameras, no phones, or nothing like that. And the two of them evidently sat down and talked for like 2 hours. She said it was very emotional. He shared some things with her, but she wasn't going to repeat those things. And so after that episode where she talked about that, she caught a lot of pushback from the network. People were upset that she had met with R. Kelly and that she wasn't willing to talk about it. And so this was like part of the whole thing where Wendy just started flipping out and going down and talking about the Graves' disease and all of this stuff. And so, people were saying that her show was going to be canceled, that she was losing advertisers because people were upset that she appeared to be sympathizing with R. Kelly. And so it was just like it lasted for about a month or so. And then when the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries came on, Wendy was actually listed as an executive producer. Now, I didn't see the credits where it said she was an executive producer, but people were talking about it on social media. And so when the docuseries aired, Wendy was out on Christmas break, and so then everybody was waiting on her to come back so she could talk about this docuseries. And then, as we know, Wendy just came back on Monday, March 4th. So she's been gone since the middle of December. So people was like it was a cop out that she would not come on and talk about that docuseries, that she was avoiding coming back on the show because she didn't want to talk about the docuseries. And then we already know that she's dealing with the whole Kevin issue. So today, as Wendy was talking about the interview with Gayle King, she was still showing that, like, you can tell she empathizes with R. Kelly, that she really likes him, and she's pretty much torn, about how she should feel about this situation, and also appease, the sponsors and the TV show and the advertisers and everything. And so she asked the audience, like, do they believe, she showed a little clip of the interview, and she was like, do you believe him? Clap if you believe him. And I think there was only maybe like 5 people in the audience that clapped, but she went on. And so she was saying that, she was really studying his body language. And one thing his body language told her was that he's very confident, that he was sitting there with his legs open. And men that sit with their legs open, I think, are so goddamn sexy, but not in this case. But I think that's sexy. I think it is a show of confidence. And she was talking about how when he was talking to Gayle, he was leaning forward, he was making eye contact with her, and so he was doing all the right things body language wise until he flipped out. And so she was basically like, where do we go with this information? She says that, he's confident and believes that he's innocent. So he really believes what he's saying, whether what he's saying is accurate or not. She says, like a lot of us, he should not have done this interview. But he felt that he had to do the interview because everybody on social media were being keyboard gangsters, and he was being tried in the court of public opinion. And of course, people were talking and saying that, he needs to say something. He needs to speak up for himself. Don't just let these people be out here scandalizing your name, saying this stuff. You need to say something. And I agree that he needed to say something. I'm just not sure that this was the way he should have said it. And I kind of felt like he needed to say something. I could understand him being emotional because you are fighting for your life. You're fighting for your reputation. I'm sure he's terrified, that he's going to be found guilty and possibly go to jail, for a long time. But then as I was like watching it, and then I watched it again, to get ready for this video. And then it kind of felt orchestrated to me. like I believe the emotion was real, but I think the whole, is this camera on? Let me look at this camera, put the camera on me, and then the jumping up out the chair. And like, I thought that was all theatrics. Now, when he was talking about his kids, I felt that he was being extremely sincere in that part, that he does love his kids, he does miss his kids.
Do you still expect people to buy your music? How do you think your music should sit with people?
Absolutely, I think they should. Although a lot of them may not, but like I said, I'm really not really fighting for my career here. I'm fighting for my rights, and I'm fighting to have a relationship with my kids most of all, more than anything. I want a relationship with my kids because I've missed a lot of years of their life. They love me. I love them.
And they want a relationship with you.
I bet you they do.
Yeah.
I bet my breath on it. You know, but they're pressured, and I get it. They're pressured, so I get it. But I believe that's going to change in due time.
And then when he was saying that he, if he found out somebody had done to his kids what he's being accused of, he said basically he would be going to jail for real because he would hurt somebody, and he actually said the MF word on TV and said that, he would hurt somebody if they did anything to his kids.
You have daughters. If your daughters called you and said that somebody is doing to them what the allegations are about you, would you be okay with that?
Let me tell you something. I'll be up in that mother, everything up. I had to bleep myself, but I would
Yes.
be.
If your daughters came to you and said, look, this guy is doing to me what the allegations are against you.
Then I would have to arrest myself after I did what I had to do.
And so he seemed sincere in those parts. And then with Gayle, I felt like Gayle wasn't just interviewing him. I felt like she was like talking down to him at some point. She was talking to him like he was a child. She was kind of like in his face, like, I'm going to make you say something. I'm going to make you tell the truth. I'm going to make you do this. And she was just like, I don't know. I just felt she was overly aggressive. She was talking to him like, I don't know, like if she was in a courtroom and she was the prosecutor, the judge would have been saying, like the defense would have been saying, objection, objection, objection. And then the judge would have said overruled, either, sustained or whatever they say when they agree with the defense. But I don't know. I just thought that she kind of was playing to the interview, playing to her constituent, like trying to be the one to force him into, making a confession on TV. So, I mean, as for the interview itself, I think it was a fail, but I do agree that he needed to get out and speak. I just didn't like this whole setup and how it was done. And so Wendy went on to say that someone on her team, when they were in their staff meeting, asked if she thought Gayle was scared when he jumped up out the chair. And Wendy said, no, she wasn't scared because they probably had snipers behind Gayle, like waiting on him to jump off. And, like I said, with the man holding him back, that guy was like probably 10 feet away from him. And I don't know if the guy worked for CBS or if he was part of R. Kelly's entourage, but he was like in the back of R. Kelly, probably about 10 feet back up against the wall, and he like cut through a couple of people that was standing there to rush over and grab him. So that kind of made me think that this guy may have been on R. Kelly's team. So Wendy went on to say that at this point, R. Kelly has nothing to lose, which I agree. She says he's a very sick man and that she has gone from in the beginning, finding, thinking that he was hella guilty to, kind of feeling like he's guilty, but I feel sorry for him, to now she still thinks he's guilty of something, but he needs help, not jail time. Like she doesn't want to see him go to jail. And she says that, and then this is where she kind of appeases to whomever is telling her to watch it when she's talking about him. Because then she said, I think everybody in the situation needs help. The victims, the parents, because you don't let your children lay up with grown people. And she says that this isn't just R. Kelly, something that's central to R. Kelly, that this is something that's happening all over the country to the non-R. Kellys, like the people in our neighborhoods that's living next door, that's teaching at our schools. And so don't think that this is an isolated incident. It's just exposing what's going on in America. And then she, closed out by saying, this is must-watch TV. And she says that if R. Kelly is this terrible person, then you have to place blame on everyone that was involved. They are all terrible people. So I was like, okay, Wendy, like they gonna get you again, girl. So then on the real, they brought it up, brought the topic up too. And so Lonnie reminds me a lot of myself, so she has to hold in a lot, what she really thinks, because, she doesn't want to upset the fan base. She doesn't want to upset them chicks on that platform with her, and she doesn't want to get kicked off the show because they got to, tread lightly with this topic because they don't want to offend the trolls out there, the almighty righteous folks out there. And so she, I can just tell, like reading between the lines with Lonnie, that Lonnie doesn't believe that most of the women coming out against R. Kelly are telling the truth. And she thinks that people should not be allowed to destroy him over old allegations. And so when she was giving her comments, she said that, she wanted to applaud Gayle, for remaining cool and, just holding it down. And she was saying that she didn't think that R. Kelly would have done anything to Gayle, and that's why Gayle didn't really, do anything because she knew R. Kelly wasn't going to do anything to her. And so she was saying that basically she doesn't care about what happened in the past, like these stories that these women are telling that, happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. She says that what she cares about is right now, and that right now, he's not messing with any underage girls, that these Azriel and Jocelyn, say that they are adults, that they were adults when they met him, or they were of consenting age when they met him, and that they are free to do whatever they want to do. She doesn't think that they're brainwashed, and that, people, she just doesn't agree with the whole being able to tear him down based on stuff that people claimed happened years ago, that she wants him judged on what he's doing right now. And then Adrian said that she's glad that he spoke up, and that, there was a lot of emotion there, but said that she didn't believe that he's never had sex with a minor. And, she brought up the whole Aaliyah thing. And then she said, unless him and Aaliyah never had, they got married, but they never had sex. And she said that she was really bothered by his temper, because if he blew up like that, knowing that those cameras was on, that he's probably doing it behind closed doors. And then Jeannie, you guys know Jeannie says that she was molested as a child. And I think she's one of those people that told that she was molested, but nothing, didn't pursue the person getting arrested or anything like that. And that's kind of like where my problem comes in, is that I think people should be held accountable, because if they're not being held accountable, then you're leaving them free to go and mess with other people. And so, but she, she gets emotional, never sheds a tear, but she does the little sniffing and huffing and puffing and everything. And so she says that, as a 52-year-old man, she's concerned that he has not processed how his abuse has impacted his life. And so there was a scene in the interview where Gayle actually asked him, have you dealt with your child, your molestation as a child?
You've been very candid that you are a sexual abuse survivor yourself. You've talked very candidly. You were molested from the ages of 7 to 13, 14. How do you think that has affected you?
It hasn't affected me at all. I mean, it has affected me in a way, though. Yeah. It affected me in this way. Anything that I've been through, that or any struggles I've had in my past, has it affected my music. It has,
Has it affected your behavior?
Absolutely not. Because I'm gonna tell you something, and I know people say, oh, well, he was abused.
Exactly.
Well, that's why he's doing that. No.
No, the experts will tell you this. Most people who are abusers have been abused, but not all people that have been abused go out and abuse others.
Okay.
And so that's why I asked the question.
That's what the experts said?
That is what the
but they
experts
didn't say
said.
all, did they?
No, they didn't. No,
all right.
No.
Here I stand.
So that's why I'm
I'm
asking
in the
you.
not all. I'm in the not all. Okay? But they also didn't say when you're R. Kelly, okay, and you're famous and your name is ringing 25 million times a day all over the okay, of people trying to get money from you, okay, and they're using your past, they're using the past allegations, the past case that he beat to link it on to that, okay, they're using that.
When you say that you need help, do you think you need to go to therapy? Have you been to therapy?
Absolutely. At this point, I'm definitely talking about that.
About going?
Oh, absolutely.
And then Gail asked him, what about, him liking younger women? Can he say that he's never slept with or had sex with a minor? He said no, he hadn't. And then he went on to say, I love women. I love young women. I love older women. And then at one point he even said that, when he's considering dating someone or being with someone, now it's not even about who that person is. What he wants to know right off the bat is, are you legal? Are you of legal age? So pretty much admitting that, he's okay with 18, 19-year-olds, but he just wants to make sure that the person is legal, and that's how he goes into every relationship now. So then Tamara, she was kind of like, her body language was like, this is the last thing I want to talk about right now, but the camera on me, so it's my turn to speak. And so she basically, like Lonnie, commended Gayle, for holding it down and for her decorum and how she handled everything. And so she says that she talked to him like a little brother and was unbothered by the outburst, which I, already mentioned that I came away with that same feeling. And she says that she couldn't listen to what R. Kelly was saying because he was deflecting too much, and that her grandmother always said that a hit dog will holler. And so, when he jumped up and he was yelling and carrying on, like that was a sign of guilt. And other people are saying that. And I know for me, I'm a pretty calm person and I can like absorb a lot. But on the same hand, I can go from 0 to 100 in less than a second. Like when I'm like dealing with somebody and they're just being ignorant and stupid, or they, just want to argue or whatever, I can sit there and listen. I can walk away. But when you get that right button with me, it's like blackout moment, and I can go off, and it has nothing to do with truth or lying. It's just that you have taken me, you hit that right spot, and I'm fixing to let you know how I really feel. So his outbursts and all of that to me doesn't mean he's guilty, or like I can believe that he's upset, he's angry, he's frightened that he might possibly be going to jail if they can prove their case. I think that it's unsettling. And then when you don't have the right people around you, when you don't have, like he really should have a psychologist or somebody working with him to get him through this, to help him understand, like what's happening to him. And then when you figure the whole money aspect of it, I personally think R. Kelly has money somewhere. And then I was reading an article where they were saying he does have money because he is getting, even though RCA and Sony kept the rights to his catalog, he's still getting paid. Getting paid. So every time, like depending on what his percentage is on the oh my god, I can't think of what it's called, but so when you write music, you have like the writer, you have the producers, you have the publishers, you have the copyright holder. So everybody gets a percentage, like from the 100%, everybody gets a percentage. And then depending on, like if he's listed as the writer, the producer, then he could be getting a larger portion, and then they could be getting like 25%, he's getting 75%, or it could be a 50-50 split, but he is getting paid royalties from his money. So there's some money somewhere. I don't know how much money it is, but he is getting paid royalties. And let's see. Oh, and then there was a part where he's going to talk about, he says on the interview, he was like, the parents sold the kids to him. It was like some awkward wording that he used. And then you'll see when Gail is back at the desk and she's talking to the rest of the people at the desk. The one lady was like, "Did I hear him say that he bought the girls? Like the parents sold the girls?" And then Gail, and that was one thing I liked about Gail was that when she was back at the desk talking about the interview, I thought that she was very fair and she was explaining like what the answers meant. So like even though he used that awkward wording that, oh, they sold their kids to me, Gail did come back and she explained, no, what he's saying is that the parents took the girls to the concert, put them up on the stage, tried to negotiate, trying to get a record deal or representation or something for their music, and that's how he ended up meeting the girls. Like there was no physical money exchange, like the parents said, okay, I'll sell it to you for $100. It wasn't anything like that. And then the other thing I did not like about it was they had this lady come on who was giving her opinion, and they allowed this woman to talk longer than the whole interviews were. And so she basically was reiterating everything that was said in the docu-series. So it kind of like negated him even being on the show, like giving his side of the story, because then you close out the show with this woman in this very long segment. And one of the things she was saying, like, nobody believes him. If you go on social media, nobody supports him, nobody believes him, which is not true. There are a lot of people on there that do support him, and there would be even more people on there showing support for him if it wasn't for the trolls that are on there, who are criticizing people, threatening people. Because you guys remember I told you the lady that paid the bill, calling in bomb threats. They had to shut down the Yelp and the online reviews on Facebook because people were just going on there cussing and carrying on, calling the ladies all, out of her name and everything. And so I think a lot of people don't comment in support because of the backlash and because these people are on there condemning them, putting their personal information out on social media. And so people don't, really say anything or comment in his favor. And so for her to sit there and say, oh, nobody believes him, nobody supports him, he's, at the end of the line or whatever, I thought was kind of counterproductive to them actually bringing him on and doing the interview.
You are with two women right now. You love them. They say they love you. What kind of love is it that keeps these young women away from their families? Their families are saying, I'm talking right now about Jocelyn and Azure.
I'm going to answer your question.
What kind of love is that?
What kind of father, what kind of mother will sell their daughter to a man?
Who did that?
How come it was okay for me to see them until they wasn't getting no money from it? Why would you take your daughter? If I were going to take my daughter and she's 19 years old to a 49-year-old icon, whatever, celebrity or R. Kelly concert or whoever it is, I'm not going to put her on the stage and leave her. I'm going to take her to the concert. Their father is more into my music and know about my music than they do.
You're saying the parents handed their daughters, Azurel and Jocelyn, over to you? Is that what you're saying to us?
Absolutely. Are the cameras still going?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
I'm
I know you.
suggesting that
He is saying that the parents are in it for the money, is what he's saying. He is saying that both sets of parents brought the daughters in hopes that they would work together and that the parents could do a deal with them, that maybe the daughters could work. I mean, he tells a very different story. I talked to Azurel's father the night before the interview. He very much believes that his daughter's been brainwashed. He says his daughter loves to sing, and that's how she got involved with R. Kelly. He says he has text messages that prove they had sex when she was 17. And so, there's all sorts of court cases going on. It really is, Nora, I have to say, hot mess all the way around, on all sides.
and Jocelyn's parents, as we mentioned, are going to be holding a press conference.
Yes, they're holding a press conference later today. It'll be interesting to hear what they have to say. But accusing him of physical and sexual abuse are lying. So hard to believe that based on all that we've read and what the women said about you.
What women said about me
So they're lying on you. That's your explanation. They're lying on you.
Absolutely.
The pounding of the fist. I was actually worried about you when I saw the picture.
I thought I might get accidentally clobbered, but I never felt in danger talking. Well, Jerika Duncan joins us at the table. You've covered these allegations and the stories against him. You've talked to some of the victims and their families.
Correct.
How do you think this interview is going to resonate in the court of public opinion?
And the court,
He's very adamant about his position.
And I think the fact that, first of all, great job to you and the crew that were able to book this interview, because I don't think anybody expected to hear from R. Kelly.
I didn't
You have
expect to
a
hear
man
from
of
R.
that
Kelly.
magnitude, celebrity, deciding to sit down while he's actually facing felony charges that could land him in prison for up to 70 years, and he decided to give his side. Of course, we did want to hear it, but I think when you look at social media and on Twitter, he doesn't have a lot of support. I think there are people who will say, oh, this is what I'm saying, the girls were lying or what have you, but by and large, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is not a lot of people have sympathy for him. And even from some of the victims, the alleged victims, Geronda Pay, she was featured in that docuseries and said that she met R. Kelly after he was acquitted and then started a sexual relationship with him when she was 16 years old. So she said on Twitter, I did not see R. Kelly, I didn't see my abuser. What I saw was a man that needs help. When you've been doing wrong for decades, she said, and the people around you make you feel that your actions are right, you tend to believe that you're doing no wrong. And then we also got a statement from Sparkle. Sparkle is the artist that R. Kelly used to work with. She was also featured in the docuseries. She plays a bigger role in this huge narrative because she was one of the first to speak out. She's the one that identified her niece as the one in that first video where he was charged with child pornography.
Because her niece was 13, 14 at the time.
Correct. And she said this was the niece. Of course, he was acquitted. She didn't say it was her. The parents didn't say it was her. But Sparkle said the interview is continued display of Robert's entertain at all costs mentality. She said with arrogance and a lack of accountability, I'm praying for their safe return back to their families in reference to the girls.
I agree with what Geronda said. I think he needs help. I think that as we were sitting there, I felt that he became very emotional several times. That wasn't just, you've seen some of the outbursts, but he became very, very emotional many, many times during the interview. And I actually think that he needs help. I thought in some ways we were seeing a breakdown right before our eyes. He composed himself and came back because he does want people to hear him. But he does think the world is out to get him and everybody is lying. And that's just, and I said after a while, Robert, how can everybody be lying except you? What makes you either so special or what makes you so unlikable that all these women would come out against you?
And let's remind everybody just how many women have accused him of abuse and misconduct.
Well, there were 7 in that docuseries, but there were about 50 people in total who talked about things that they may have seen. Not necessarily abused by him, but there was a young lady who said she claimed she saw him having sex with Aaliyah.
Yeah.
He didn't talk about that Aaliyah, the artist who he allegedly married when she was 15 years old, and later passed away. But it was fascinating. And that was a remarkable interview. And I think everyone is just so shocked that it went on for so long. I mean, if you look at prior interviews where he's left, when it goes too deep, he gets up and he leaves. But you were able to keep him in that chair, and he did compose himself, and he continued.
Because he said, I've been silent for too long while people were saying all these things about me. I want people to hear from my own mouth.
Right.
And in the end, he said, thank you for giving me the platform to say this. We even asked, do you want to take a break? Do you want some tissue? No, leave me alone. Just let me talk. And that is what we did.
Well, of course, we'll be waiting to see what happens as this goes to trial, potentially, because that is the opinion that matters.
Exactly. It's not just social media.
Who will decide whether or not there's enough evidence to.
The thing that got to him the most, though, Jerika, was his relationship with his own children.
Yeah,
He became most emotional when he kept talking about, I want to see my children. I want to have a relationship with my children. There are clearly issues with R. Kelly and his ex-wife, Andrea, which he says he has the utmost respect for her because she's the mother of his children. But that's what got to him the most, talking about his own children.
And it's worth noting we likely wouldn't even be here having this discussion if it wasn't for that docuseries. We've been covering it for the past month.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true. Thank you, Jerika. We'll bring you more of our interview with R. Kelly tomorrow.
So I almost missed today's episode because that show comes on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm usually not out of the bed until about 9:30 or 10. But I am going to set my alarm so that I can get up early tomorrow and catch the rest of his part. And then, like I said, they will be interviewing Jocelyn and Azarel. And then the Savages were supposed to do a press conference later on today, and I am going to see if I can find that. So leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.